Hello and welcome to Write Accounts. I'm Claire if you haven't watched any of my videos before, and in this video we're going to take a look at your Etsy monthly fees and specifically how you can calculate them, what's in the different reports and different downloads in Etsy, and how to actually bring this all together. So Etsy doesn't help us with monthly or even calculating our fees because they use different reports that show different things, and they also call the same things in different reports different terms. So for example, sometimes the payment processing fee, so the fee for a customer to use a credit card to pay, is called the payment fee, sometimes the processing fee, and sometimes the sales fee. So Etsy really aren't doing us any favors when it comes to being able to conclusively know what our fees are. So in this video we're going to go through some of those terms, some of the different things they use, some of the fees they apply to our accounts, and where to get information from so we can actually conclusively know what our fees are, what our sales are, and what we should be recording in our bookkeeping. So firstly, it's important to understand what fees do come through from Etsy. So we've got credit card processing fees, final transaction fees, so that's the percentage Etsy apply when we make a sale, whereas credit card fee is the fee for using a credit card to make that sale. Now if you only have the Etsy payment account option, then you will always pay the credit card fee. If you still have checkout by PayPal available, then Etsy won't charge you this fee, but PayPal will charge you a similar fee. We have listing fees, obviously applied to new listings, automatically renewed listings when you make a sale if you have multiple quantities, as well as relisting fees when you renew something or when something expires. There's also promoted listing fees, both for Google and for Etsy, shipping labels if you use them, subscriptions if you signed up, and taxes on top of all of that. If you are not registered for GST in Australia, Etsy will charge you GST on their services. And also if you're digital downloads seller, then there will be a GST element to that as well. So specifically in this video, and there are other videos available for fees on sales and how to calculate your deposits, specifically in this video we're looking at the monthly fees and the process for them. So broadly, monthly fees, when we come to see our accounts, we see fees come in, so fees for a sale or fees for listings or fees for the other things we've discussed. Then we'll see a sale come in. From that, Etsy will give us a deposit into our bank account if we are using Etsy's direct deposit, direct checkout. From that, they've already deducted any fees you had owing at the time. Then you may incur more fees, and if you get to the end of the month without having a sale towards the end of the month and you've made renewals or promoted listings, etc., you'll probably end up with a balance to pay, and it's due around the 15th of the month. But if you make a sale before the 15th of the month, Etsy will automatically deduct those outstanding fees from your account, which is all fine and well, except it gets really confusing when it actually comes to doing your monthly accounting and reconciliation. So we need to work and break down those fees and track them on a month-to-month basis rather than being subject to Etsy's always deducting fees from our balances. So for an end of month or an end of period, if you'd like to do this on a non-monthly basis, we need to work out what our total sales are and what we receive for shipping from customers. We then also should know what refunds we processed and optionally what discounts we processed as well. So you can record discounts separately when it comes to bookkeeping. Then obviously we need to know our total fees, and we should be cross-referencing those amounts, those calculations against our deposits and the statements Etsy sends us before we process into bookkeeping. So let's break that down, but first I want to just recap on what are the fees per sale, and this is really a one-page summary of a quite complicated process. So if we're selling a physical product, domestically we get charged 3% of the sale for the item price and then 25 cents as well. Internationally, 4% and 25 cents as well. That's for the credit card. So if they're using credit card and checking out on Etsy, that's what you're going to pay. In addition, and this was introduced by Etsy recently, well, in the last probably 9 months, they're going to charge you the same percentage, 3 or 4% for any shipping, and also they charge that amount if your customer is paying any sales tax. Then they're going to add on GST if you aren't registered for GST. In the center column, they're charging us that final transaction percentage, and now note, Etsy currently are calculating this incorrectly because they're doing some currency conversion that magically makes it more expensive than it actually should be. Now, they announced recently that they are going to fix that by June 30th, which is a bit of a watching brief as to how that works out. Apparently, it's quite complicated. So what is that? They're going to charge us 5% on the item and 5% on the shipping fee for making the sale, and then GST if applicable. And then obviously, if you are automatically relisting those items because you have a multiple quantity, you're going to pay 28 cents for that listing in Australia and 10% as well on top of that for GST. So in a quick example, before we go back to monthly, just want to break down what we're doing. So if we look at fees, and this is for domestic sales and for physical products, if we start to go towards that monthly, we're going to add up all our monthly sales. So if we made 4 sales in the month, $60, $45, $25, and $65, we can start calculating from that $195 total. Now, it's not so important what the customer paid in shipping versus what they paid in item price because Etsy are charging the same on those. So what are we going to pay in fees on this? Well, we're going to pay 3% for card processing plus 25 cents, which gives us $6.85. We're also then going to pay GST of 69 cents on that. They're going to also charge us that 5% for making the sale transaction percentage, which they're currently calculating incorrectly, but should be $9.75 and then GST of 98 cents. If we've automatically relisted those ones because we have a multiple quantity, we're going to pay 4 times 28 cents, so $1.12 plus 11 cents on that, which works out at $19.50. Now, if you haven't watched my other videos on how to calculate sales fees, head over and watch that. But just as a note, Etsy fees come in around that 9 to 12%, so around 10%, depending on your base item price and how the 25 cents affects that. So what else do we need to think about for a month? Remember, we need new listings and any renewed listings. We need any subscriptions if you're signed up to Etsy Plus, any promoted listing fees, any Google listing fees. So when you're promoting items on Google Ads, any shipping labels, and remember you can itemize these in your bookkeeping if that's something you would like to track. So maybe you separate subscription from listing fees because subscription could be operating costs, whereas listing fees would be marketing costs and shipping labels would be cost of goods sold. So where are the different places we can get information from? There are at least 5 places you can get your Etsy information just within Etsy. Don't forget you also have the deposits coming into your bank account. So the first place, the most obvious, the Etsy payment account summary. So at the top of your payment account page, you see those graphs, those little donuts or pie charts showing you your fees and your expenses and your sales. Then we have underneath that the itemized list, so what Etsy refer to as the activities within your Etsy payment account. So each time you renew a listing, you get activities. Each time you make a sale, there are activities. There's lots and lots and lots of activities happen in there if you have an active Etsy shop. Then we also have the VAT or VAT statement as well. So Etsy's official VAT statement issued in a downloadable format. And then the Csv Billing Statement, which is just next to the VAT statement, and is another way of downloading what is supposed to be the same information. And then lastly, we also have the data downloads options. So if you go into settings and options, you'll see a tab that says download data, and there are a number of reports you can download from within there to do with sales and deposits and with direct checkout. Confusingly and annoyingly, Etsy include different things in different reports, and they also use different terminology in those reports. So there is a little bit of study to put in order to be able to effectively and link these different data sets together. So let's look what's in each before we look to the process for a month. So the first place, the Etsy payment account summary. So at the top of your finance payment account page, you get this summary donut chart. So what does it show? Well, firstly, it doesn't actually show your total sales, even though it says sales. My total sales for this particular period were actually $350.60, I think. But Etsy showed me my sales after payment processing fees, discounts and refunds. So it isn't actually my total sales. If I was to put that in my income, that number would be incorrect. The chart on the right hand side, fees and taxes, doesn't show any discounts you've received from having a subscription or credits you received. So if you sign up to a subscription, it shows you the subscription cost, but it doesn't effectively show you the credit for listings and the credit for promoted listings. And it also doesn't show you the payment processing fees. So if I was to copy those items into my bookkeeping, again, my expenses would be wrong. So although it's a nice visual summary, it's actually not that useful for your bookkeeping. So the second place we might look at the payment account activities, and this is the transaction itemized running total underneath your donut charts. Now this does show pretty much everything, so it will show you GST, it will show you payment processing fees and sales income, it shows you the deposits you make, and it is a running balance with your deposits, resetting that to zero. So you receive a sale, then you receive a deposit, your balance goes back to zero. It doesn't show you what sales tax have been paid by your customer, which it may be information that you need. And it also doesn't actually give you a total because of this running balance format. You can't actually see a total at any given time. The third place then we might take a look is the VAT or VAT statement. Now you download this from within your payment account and it does show you all your expenses. So this to me is the most conclusive document available to you in Etsy. So it shows if you have subscriptions, listing fees, payment processing fees, transaction fees. It also shows you the discount you receive for having that subscription as well, which is important. So there's $8.14 on the last line of that statement there, which applied to listings and to promoted listings that were included within my subscription. Again, it doesn't show you the taxes paid by the customer, and it doesn't actually give you a sales total. So it's the most conclusive for expenses, but doesn't tell you about your income. Then the last place within the payment account summary, there's a download CSV. So this is the CSV Billing Statement. Now, since they made the change to the Etsy payment account, this download does include everything dollars. So it includes your sales, your Google listing fees, promoted listing fees, subscriptions, listing fees, all of that is included. However, before they made this change, so from September 2018 backwards, it doesn't include everything and they changed the format of it. So just be aware if you are going back, particularly for this financial year, to July 2018, that the format changes and what's included changes. So if you downloaded the CSV for August 2018 and you downloaded the VAT statement for August 2018, they have different totals on because Etsy don't include the payment processing fee in the CSV before October 2018. Like I said, Etsy try, I think, to make it as confusing as possible, which is why I decided to create this video. Also, importantly, in here, although now it includes everything, it doesn't actually show you the destination of the customer, so where your order is being sent, which is important if you want to calculate manually to double check that Etsy are charging you the right fees. So you do have to get that information separately. So the last place we're going to look, and there's 4 options in here, so we're up to 8 options for different places to get information about your Etsy shop and your Etsy account. So the 4 options in here, and I have put them in the current order. So the first one, order items. And when you download this, it's actually called Etsy sold order items, just because the terminology when you download it doesn't match the name of the sheet when you open it. Again, frustrating. So what does this include? Sales discounts, shipping, taxes paid, and the country of the customer. All very important. It doesn't show you any fees paid on those sales, any fees paid for anything else, and it doesn't show you any refunds that you issued to your customer, whether partial or in full. So the second option to download is referred to as orders, and downloads as Etsy sold orders. Now this includes everything that the sold order item includes. It is summarized by order rather than by item. So if you do have somebody purchasing multiple items in a single transaction sale, that information doesn't come through in this download, but that's not really important when it comes to doing your bookkeeping. This does include an adjusted order total from which you can calculate a refund amount, and it includes your payment fees paid for that credit card processing on using Etsy checkout. It doesn't include any of your other fees, so marketing, listing, subscription are not included. This just is for orders. The third download you can access is called Etsy Payment Sales, and this is just limited to those sales using Etsy Direct Checkout. So anything you put through PayPal won't be in this report. So it's not a conclusive income total if you are using a PayPal checkout. But it does include refunds and payment fees and is the gross sale. So it doesn't itemize shipping, but it does give you that total income through Etsy, and it gives you refunds, which is really good. And then the last one, we have the Etsy payment deposits, and this basically just tells us the money that Etsy sent to our bank account and when they sent it, and not really any other information. So what are we going to do with all this information? Now I've put together what seems like a long process, but this really should get you to the information you need for bookkeeping. So my recommendation, first calculate your income total. Now this shouldn't be after any fees. This should be the total that you were entitled to before Etsy started taking out their fees. So we want the item total. Personally, I also like to have the shipping total separate, and then any discounts on orders. And I personally get this from the orders CSV download. Then I'm going to calculate any refunds using that adjusted order column from the same spreadsheet, from the orders CSV download, the second option in the download list. Then the second major step we need to do is calculate our expenses. So what did we pay to Etsy for selling on Etsy? So I'm going to sum up the total I paid for listings, marketing, subscription, processing fee, transaction fee, shipping labels if you use them, and GST, and I'm going to do that separately from the CSV download available in your payment account. Particularly after October 2018, that is the one that is most conclusive. And then separately, I'm also going to add up any credits from my subscription from that same download. So it will tell you in there if you have credits. And then what we're going to do with that information, well, we need to cross-check it first before we enter it into our bookkeeping. So I cross-check these totals, so the income total, the refund total, the discount total, listings, marketing, subscription, all of that stuff against the Etsy VAT statement. And I often find there is a discrepancy. And if there's a discrepancy, I'm going to pick one conclusive source of information. Personally, I use the Etsy VAT statement. If my accountant should ask me, Claire, where did you get these numbers from? I want to be able to give them a conclusive document that's officially issued by Etsy, and for me that's the VAT statement. The amounts tend to be quite small if there is a discrepancy, so I don't need to dig into that much detail for the sake of finding 10 or 15 cent difference, because that really is immaterial to most businesses. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to enter these items into my bookkeeping. Now, depending on what software you use, what integrations you have, you may need to enter all of this information, or you may only need to enter some of this information. Just know what you need to enter to get your bookkeeping up to date and your bookkeeping reconciled. And then lastly, and this is just my safeguard check, I'm going to cross-reference what I expected to receive from Etsy against the deposits I actually received. Because then I can be sure that Etsy are charging me correctly and that I'm receiving what I should be from Etsy. And I can also use that information to analyze, what's the return on selling on Etsy? What are the fees? Am I paying for lots of listings and lots of renewals and lots of promotion without receiving a return on the investment? So then that next step of actually going to your bookkeeping, going through your finances and actually analysing, is Etsy worth it for me for the amount of effort and expense I put in? I hope this has been useful. I do have another sheet that is available for download for my newsletter list that actually calculates these for you. So you input some of the information and then the sheet calculates some of this for you. If you're interested in that, I'll pop the link in the description. Otherwise, happy bookkeeping.